Princess Lyra walked through the grand halls of her palace, her steps echoing softly on the polished crystal floors. The halls shimmered under the soft glow of the alien lights, and the air smelled faintly of jasmine and ozone. She had been taught all her life to uphold her people's honor, to follow the rules of the royal family, and to carry the weight of her planet on her shoulders. Yet tonight, for the first time in years, she felt restless. Her heart ached with a longing she could not name. She longed for something beyond her golden cage, beyond the endless ceremonies and rigid expectations. Suddenly, an urgent message came from the palace lookout. A human ship had entered their sector uninvited. Humans were unpredictable and dangerous. They had been legends in Lyra's world, strong, brave, and reckless. Her advisors panicked instantly. "They could be spies!"
"They could be invaders,"
one shouted. "We must destroy the ship immediately," another demanded. But Lyra did not feel fear. She felt curiosity. Something deep inside her stirred at the thought of seeing this human with her own eyes. Despite her advisor's protests, she insisted on meeting the visitor herself. When the human warrior stepped out of his ship, Lyra froze. He was taller than most humans she had imagined, with broad shoulders, strong arms, and a calm, confident gaze. His dark hair was slightly ruffled from space travel, but his posture was perfect, disciplined. And then she saw his eyes. Deep, steady, and full of warmth, they seemed to look straight into her soul. For a moment she felt a strange pull, a connection she could not explain. Her heart skipped a beat. "My name is Kale," he said, bowing slightly with respect. "I come in peace." His voice was calm even, but it carried a strength that made Lyra feel safe and alert at the same time. Her advisors muttered among themselves, clearly unsettled. But Lyra ignored them. She wanted to know more about this man. There was something familiar in his presence, though she had never seen him before. Something about the way he stood. The quiet confidence he radiated felt as if fate had brought him to her. Over the next few hours, Lyra observed him. He spoke of human worlds, of distant planets, and of the strength of his people. He did not boast or threaten. He simply explained with clarity and honesty the values humans held dear. Lyra listened, fascinated. She had read about humans in her history books, but she had never truly understood them, not until now. Kale was different. He was not just a warrior. He was a protector, a thinker, and somehow he seemed to understand her in ways no one else did. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She stood at her balcony, looking at the stars that stretched across the alien sky. Her heart beat faster with thoughts of Kale. She tried to deny it, tried to tell herself that humans were dangerous, that she must focus on her royal duties, yet the pull in her chest would not be ignored. It was as if something deep inside her was whispering, urging her to trust him, to follow the path that fate had begun to write. She remembered stories her mother had told her, stories of love and destiny, of bonds that could span worlds. Lyra had always thought they were fairy tales, but now, standing alone under the glittering sky, she wondered if those stories had been warnings or promises. Somewhere deep down she felt that this human, this Kale, was not just a visitor. He was the beginning of something greater, something that could change her life forever. And in that moment, Lyra knew that everything she had believed about her destiny, her role, and her heart was about to change. The next morning, Princess Lyra could barely eat. Her thoughts were tangled, like the swirling colors of the alien skies outside her window. She kept thinking about Kale, his calm eyes, the way he spoke, the strange familiarity she felt in his presence. Something about him was different. Something about him made her heart ache and soar at the same time. She did not understand it, but a part of her knew that she could not ignore it. In the royal archives hidden deep beneath the palace, Lyra found an old, dusty scroll. The archivist had warned her that it contained secrets only the royal family was meant to see. But Lyra could not stop herself. Her curiosity burned too brightly. With trembling hands she unrolled the scroll. The words were ancient and formal, written in a language only the royal family could fully understand. But the message was clear. A prophecy spoke of an earth-born warrior destined to be the mate of the alien princess. This warrior would protect the princess and bring peace to the galaxy during times of darkness. Lyra's breath caught in her throat as she read further. The description was uncanny. The height, the eyes, the quiet strength. It was him, Kale. Her heart raced. She could hardly believe it. Could it be true? The very human standing in her palace, whom she had barely known, was meant to be her mate, her rightful husband. Her destiny? A whirlwind of emotions filled her chest. Shock, disbelief, fear, and an undeniable spark of hope. Lyra could not wait. She found Kale in the palace garden, where the alien flowers glowed softly under the moons. She felt her knees weaken as she approached him. "Kyle," she said, her voice trembling, "did you know?" Kale looked up at her, surprise flickering across his face. "Know what?" Lyra took a deep breath. "About the prophecy. About us." Kale's eyes softened. He stepped closer, taking her hands gently in his own. "I did not know the prophecy," he admitted. "I only knew that my heart led me here to you. Something inside me always knew you existed, even if I could not explain it." Lyra's chest tightened. She stared into his eyes and saw the same truth she had felt, but could not name. He had come for her, not as a visitor, not as a warrior, but as someone who belonged in her life. The realization hit her like a comet striking the oceans. The man she had only just met, the human who had entered her world unexpectedly, was her destined partner. Tears filled her eyes. Shock gave way to a strange warmth that spread through her entire being. She wanted to scream in joy, to laugh in disbelief, to run to him and never let go. Her heart and mind were at war. Everything she had learned, everything she had believed seemed smaller compared to this truth. Kale squeezed her hands gently. "Lyra, I know this may be hard to believe. It is hard for me too, but I feel it. Our bond, it is real, stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, and I am not afraid to face it with you." Lyra felt her fear melting. The universe in all its vastness had brought them together. It was bigger than rules, bigger than fear, bigger than everything she had ever known, and yet a part of her still hesitated. Could her people accept this? Could she embrace a future so different from everything she had been taught? She looked down at their joined hands, feeling the warmth of his touch. The wind whispered around them and the glowing flowers seemed to lean closer, as if the world itself wanted her to see the truth. For the first time, Lyra realized that destiny was not something you could ignore or run from. Destiny was a choice in war, and the universe had given her a gift she could not refuse. Her lips trembled as she whispered, I don't know if I am ready yet, but I feel it too. I feel it in my heart. You are meant for me, aren't you?" Kale nodded, a soft, reassuring smile on his face. "Yes, Lyra, I am yours if you will have me." The stars above the palace twinkled as if approving, and in that moment, Lyra knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Princess Lyra could hardly think straight the next morning. Her heart and mind were in turmoil. She knew the truth, that Kale, the human warrior, was her destined mate. She had felt it in her soul. Yet accepting it fully was not easy. The palace buzzed with whispers, the advisors murmuring behind closed doors. Some feared the prophecy. Others whispered about political disasters, about the shame of a human standing beside their princess. Lyra felt torn. On one side was her heart, pounding with warmth and excitement whenever Kale's presence was near. On the other side were years of duty, expectations, and fear of her people's judgment. She wandered through the palace gardens alone, the alien flowers glowing softly under the twin moons. Their gentle light could not soothe the storm inside her. Kale found her there, silent and still. He stepped softly on the path, careful not to startle her. "Lyra," he said gently, "I can see the fear in your eyes. I know this is not easy, but I want you to know I am not here to force anything. I will wait for you. I will stand by your side no matter what you decide. Lyra looked up at him, tears threatening to fall. Kyle, it's not just about us. It's about my people. They will never understand. They might never accept you. Never accept me. If I choose this, what if I lose everything for something that might not even be accepted? Kale stepped closer and took her hands in his. His touch was warm, grounding, and it made her heart tremble. Sometimes, Lyra, he said softly, the universe gives us what we need, not what we expect. Love is never easy. Destiny is never simple, but I am here, and I am yours, always. Her chest ached as she listened to him. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to cast aside fear and doubt, to let her heart lead her. Yet the weight of responsibility pressed heavily upon her shoulders. How could she choose her happiness when her people's trust and safety depended on her? For hours she walked through the palace alone, thinking of the prophecy of Kale and of everything she had learned about humans. They were strong, brave, and loyal in ways her people had never imagined. And Kale, he was extraordinary, unlike anyone she had ever met. Her thoughts drifted back to the quiet moments she had spent with him, the way he had spoken of his worlds, the gentle way he had looked at her, the courage that shone even in small acts. She realized something she had not allowed herself to feel before. She trusted him. She trusted him with her life, her heart, and her destiny. That night, Lyra stood on her balcony staring at the stars that stretched endlessly above the palace. The wind tugged gently at her hair and the world felt impossibly vast. And yet amidst the infinite cosmos she felt a spark of clarity. Destiny was not about avoiding fear. It was about embracing what was real, even if it scared you. She remembered her mother's words from long ago. The heart always knows the truth, even when the mind is blind. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. Lyra whispered the words to herself, letting them sink in. Finally, she turned to Kale, who had been waiting quietly near the balcony. I do not know what the future will bring, she said softly, her voice trembling. But I know that I want you by my side. I will face the fear. I will face my people. I will try. If you promise me we face it together. Kyle's face lit up with a gentle, understanding smile. I promise, Lyra. Together, always. Lyra felt tears slide down her cheeks, but this time they were not of fear or doubt. They were of hope, of courage, of a love that was stronger than any obstacle. And in that moment, standing beside Kale under the alien stars, she felt something she had never felt before. The true power of trust, and the first glimmer of freedom. The morning sun painted the palace in shades of gold and pink, but Lyra felt no peace. Rumors had spread quickly. A rival alien faction had learned of the prophecy. They believed that if they captured the princess or eliminated the human warrior, they could take control of her planet. The palace was on high alert and tension thickened the air. Lyra walked through the corridors, her hands clenched, her heart pounding. The advisors whispered behind her back, their faces pale with fear. This human is dangerous, one said. He could bring war upon us. Lyra ignored them, focusing instead on Kale, who stood quietly in the training hall, observing the preparations with calm determination. She found him there, muscles tense, eyes sharp but gentle when they met hers. Lyra, he said softly, they may come for us, but we are ready. We will face this together. Her heart swelled at his words. There was no fear in him, only certainty. For the first time she realized that courage was contagious. Looking at him, she felt her own fears shrink. She nodded, letting a small smile escape. Together, she echoed. That evening, the enemy struck. Ships darkened the skies and strange energy weapons lit the night with deadly flashes. The royal guards fought valiantly, but it was Kale's leadership that turned the tide. He ran into danger, directing soldiers, shielding the injured, and striking with a precision that was almost unnatural. Lyra watched from the palace walls, her heart racing with both fear and admiration. She had never seen such bravery, Not in her people, not in herself, not even in the legends of human warriors. During the battle, Kale spotted Lyra watching and paused for a heartbeat, his eyes meeting hers. There was no panic there, only reassurance. In that instant, Lyra felt a surge of strength she had never known. She ran down from the walls, joining him in the chaos. She used her own royal powers, shimmering waves of energy that could immobilize their enemies, to protect the guards and civilians. Side by side, human and alien, they became a force unstoppable. When the enemy finally retreated, silence fell over the palace. Smoke curled from damaged ships, and the palace grounds were strewn with debris. Lyra's chest heaved as she caught her breath. Kal came to her side, wiping a streak of dirt from her cheek with gentle hands. "You were incredible," he said softly. "I am honored to fight beside you." Lyra's lips trembled as she smiled, tears threatening to spill. "So were you," she whispered. She realized something profound. It was not just Kale's skill that moved her, but his unwavering presence, his courage, his calm in the storm. He had faced danger for her, not because it was his duty, but because he chose to protect her. The battle had ended, but the palace was not at peace. Some advisors still muttered, fearful of what had happened. Could they accept a human standing beside their princess? Could they see that Kale was not a threat but a protector, a partner, and perhaps even a hero? Kale turned to her, sensing her worry. "Do not doubt yourself," he said quietly. "Your people will see. They will understand in time. And if they do not, we face it together. Always together." Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest. The fear of judgment, of uncertainty, of a future unknown began to fade. With Kale at her side, she realized that courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was choosing to act, to stand, to love, even when the world expected you to cower. As they looked up at the alien moons, Lyra took Kale's hand in hers. The stars seemed to sparkle brighter, as if acknowledging their bond. The princess knew then that no matter what trials awaited them, in the palace, in the galaxy, or in their hearts, she and Kale would face them together. And somehow that knowledge made her feel invincible. In the quiet aftermath of chaos, Lyra whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." And Kale, ever steady and strong, simply held her close, letting their hearts speak what words could not. The palace was quiet that morning, but the tension in the air was thick. Rumors of Kale's heroism had spread, but so had whispers of scandal. Some advisors were uneasy. Humans were outsiders, unpredictable, and their ways were strange. And yet Lyra felt no fear. She had made her choice. Kale was hers, and she would stand beside him, no matter what anyone said. She walked into the council chamber, her head held high, her royal robe trailing behind her like a river of light. Kale followed, calm and steady, his human presence contrasting yet complementing her alien elegance. The advisors' mouths fell open. Some whispered, others gasped, but Lyra ignored them. She had something to say. Something that would change everything. "My people," she began, her voice clear and strong. "I know that many of you are frightened by what you see before you. A human stands beside me, and I understand your fear. But you must listen carefully. Kale is no threat to us. He is not only my protector, but he is my destined partner, the one the universe intended for me. Our bond is real, and it is our choice to embrace it." A murmur ran through the room. Some shook their heads, disbelieving. "Princess," an elder advisor said cautiously, "do you truly understand the implications? A humanity beside you? This could destabilize everything we have worked for." Lyra met his gaze, unwavering. "I understand more than you know. Kale is brave, loyal, and wise. He has proven himself not only to me, but to our people. He fought for this palace, for our safety, and for our future. I will not ignore my heart, nor the truth the universe has shown me. He is my mate, and I will stand with him." For a long moment the room was silent. Even the smallest creatures that served in the chamber seemed to hold their breath. Then Kale stepped forward. His voice was calm but firm. carrying the weight of honesty and courage. I am not here to take anything from your people. I am here to protect them, to support Princess Lyra and to share her life. I do not seek power, only to honor the bond we share and fight for peace together. Slowly the silence was replaced by hesitant nods. Some advisors lowered their heads in acceptance, seeing the courage and truth in both Lyra and Kale. Others still whispered, but their fear was tempered by respect. Lyra's heart swelled. She had faced doubt, fear, and uncertainty, yet she had chosen love. And now the universe itself seemed to acknowledge her courage. That evening, Lyra and Kale walked through the palace gardens, the alien flowers glowing softly under the twin moons. She felt his hand in hers, strong and warm. "You did it," Kyle said softly. "You spoke your truth." Lyra smiled, tears threatening to fall. "We did it," she corrected. "Together." She looked around at the gardens, at the palace that had been her home and her cage, and realized that now it felt different, free, alive. Every flower, every stone, every breeze seemed to celebrate their choice. Kale pulled her gently into his arms. "No matter what comes next," he whispered, "we face it as one. Our bond is stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than any obstacle." Lyra pressed her forehead against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "I never imagined I could feel this way," she admitted, "so sure, so safe, and so alive." He kissed her gently, and the stars above shimmered as if in response. It was not just a kiss, it was a promise, a seal of trust and destiny, a vow that whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them together. And for the first time, Lyra truly believed it. Love was not just a feeling, it was strength. It was courage. It was the choice to stand against the world and embrace what was real. And with Kale beside her, she felt ready for anything. Ready to face enemies, ready to lead her people, ready to step into a future she had never dared to imagine. That night, under the twin moons, Lyra whispered, "We are together. Always." Kyle smiled, holding her close. "Always," he echoed. And in that quiet, magical moment, the alien princess and the human warrior became more than just a legend waiting to be told. They became a force that could change the universe. The palace felt different in the days after Lyra declared her bond with Kale. The halls were still alive with whispers and cautious glances, but now there was a new energy, one of hope, curiosity, and possibility. Lyra walked through the corridors, with Kyle by her side, their hands brushing together, their steps in quiet harmony. She felt lighter, freer, as if a great weight had lifted from her shoulders. Kyle had begun learning the ways of Lyra's people, and in return, he shared stories of human courage, loyalty, and resilience. The people listened, first with skepticism, then with fascination. Slowly, trust began to grow. Lyra watched as children peeked from behind pillars to see Kale smile, as soldiers nodded at his advice, as advisors whispered that perhaps the human was not a threat, but a blessing. Lyra felt pride swelling in her chest. Not just pride for Kale, but for herself. She had chosen love, chosen courage, and in doing so she had opened a new path for her people. The bond she shared with Kale had become a bridge between two species, two worlds, and two hearts. At night she often sat with him on the palace balcony, staring at the alien stars. Kale would talk about Earth, about his home, and the humans who had trained him, the battles he had faced, and the dreams he had carried across the stars. Lyra listened, captivated, feeling as if she was discovering not just him but a whole universe she had never known. One evening, under the shimmering glow of the twin moons, Lyra spoke softly. "I never thought the universe would be so vast, so full of life and possibilities, and I never imagined I could feel this whole." Kale looked at her, his eyes steady, filled with warmth. "You made it whole," he said. "Your courage, your heart. It made us both stronger. Together, we are more than what we were alone. We are a force that can face anything." Lyra smiled, letting the words sink in. She realized that the challenges they had faced, the fear, the doubts, the enemies, had only made her stronger. They had tested her heart, and now her love for Kale was unshakable. The palace began to transform as well. Lyra encouraged her people to work together with humans, to share knowledge, technology, and ideas. The once skeptical advisors slowly accepted Kale's presence, seeing the wisdom and compassion in his actions. Soldiers trained alongside him, learning both alien and human techniques. The people's fear turned into admiration, and admiration into trust. Kale never took command for himself. He guided, supported, and protected, always deferring to Lyra's judgment. And Lyra found strength in his steady presence, in the quiet confidence he brought to every decision. They learned from each other, laughed together, and shared moments of quiet intimacy that no words could fully capture. One night, as they watched a distant comet streak across the sky, Lyra whispered, "Do you think the stars are smiling at us?" Kale smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I think they are celebrating us," he replied. "The human and the princess bound by destiny, proving that love and courage can change worlds." Lyra leaned into him, feeling the warmth of his embrace. "Then let us face the future," she said softly. "Together." Kale kissed her forehead gently. "Together," he echoed, his voice carrying the promise of endless tomorrows. And in that moment, under the infinite expanse of alien skies, Lyra and Kale understood something profound. The future was not just something that happened to them. It was something they could shape, hand in hand, heart to heart, across worlds and stars. They were no longer just princess and warrior. They were a union of two souls, two species, and two destinies, a love strong enough to inspire, to protect, and to guide their people toward a brighter tomorrow. The sky above Lyra's planet darkened in an unnatural way. A black star, massive and ominous, moved through the galaxy, consuming planets in its path. The alarms in the palace blared, and fear gripped the people. For a moment, the weight of the entire galaxy pressed down on Lyra's shoulders. But beside her, Kale stood calm, unwavering, and resolute. His hand found hers, and the warmth of his grip steadied her heart. "This is our test," he said softly, his voice firm. "Not just for us, but for everyone we love. We face this together." Lyra nodded, feeling the courage of his presence flow into her. Together they rallied their people, human and alien alike. Soldiers, advisors, and citizens worked side by side under their leadership, preparing defenses, strengthening shields, and planning strategies that combined human ingenuity and alien technology. It was chaos, yet a strange harmony existed, born from trust and shared purpose. As the black star approached, its dark energy crushing moons and melting distant ice worlds, Lyra felt a moment of fear. But Kale's steady gaze reminded her that courage was not the absence of fear. It was the choice to act despite it. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting him guide her. Then, together, they stepped onto the front line. The battle was fierce. Waves of energy erupted across the skies, shaking the palace grounds. Kale moved with precision, shielding Lyra from the most dangerous attacks. Her royal powers, enhanced by Kale's strategies, sent beams of radiant energy streaking into the darkness, countering the black star's pull. Every movement they made was synchronized, every decision informed by trust and instinct. At one point, the black star's energy nearly engulfed them. Kale shouted, "Hold on to me," and caught her just as a massive wave of dark energy struck. They tumbled to the ground, dust and debris swirling around them, but neither faltered. Together they rose, their hands intertwined, their hearts beating as one. Lyra realized something profound in that moment. The prophecy had never been about fear or separation. It had been about unity, about two souls, two species, and two destinies coming together to face impossible odds. And as she looked at Kale, battered but unbroken, she felt the truth of it in every fiber of her being. With one final, coordinated effort, Kale and Lyra channeled all their strength, human determination and alien power, into a single beam of radiant energy. The light struck the black star, piercing its darkness. The immense mass shuddered and cracked, finally shattering into harmless fragments that drifted across the galaxy. The danger was gone. The galaxy had been saved. When silence returned, the palace grounds were filled with exhausted but relieved voices. Lyra and Kyle stood together, holding hands, their faces streaked with dust and sweat, their hearts still racing. Around them, humans and aliens alike cheered, celebrating not just victory, but the bond that had led them to triumph. Kale turned to Lyra, his eyes soft but burning with love. "We did it," he said. "Together." Lyra smiled, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Yes. Together," she whispered. She realized that everything she had feared, the prophecy, the doubts, the judgment of her people, had been necessary to bring them to this moment. They had faced it all, and now they stood victorious, not just over their enemies, but over fear itself. As they looked at the stars, now bright and peaceful once again, Lyra pressed her forehead to Kale's chest. "I was shocked when I learned the truth about us," she said softly. "But now, I cannot imagine my life without you." Kale wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly. "I was born to be by your side, Lyra. Always. And under the alien moons, with the galaxy safe and the people inspired, the human warrior and the alien princess stood together, a union of courage, love, and destiny. Their story would be told for generations, a legend of hope that reminded the universe that love, courage, and trust could conquer even the darkest stars. They had faced the impossible, and together, they had become unstoppable.